Hello and good morning. Today's Thursday, December the 7th. I just welcome my students this morning, and we're going to be starting our class number 13. This is week number 14. We're approaching the finish line, finally. It's been a fun semester. We're going to be finishing it off with no better than having some fun with the animation techniques in Photoshop that we've been learning so far. Today's going to be more like the advanced approach to animation, and we're going to continue off where we left off from the last lesson. All right, so stay tuned, and I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to get started. I believe my screen is being shared already. Give me a quick thumbs up if you can see my screen so I know it's working. Screen's good, thank you. All right, excellent. So we're going to be looking at the module right now. This is the we're going to be, because there's no presentations that you're doing next week. We decided not to do that this time around. It just takes too long and there's too many of you. And I think one presentation is good for one semester. You don't have to do all these presenting. You already did your share of presentations in the first composite assignment. For the next presentations, which is next semester, I think it's ideal because it's your portfolio and you get a good little practice run before you present it on the portfolio night, which happens next semester as well. I'm sure maybe Roberto chimed some light on that one. He's the one that's going to be looking at the portfolio portion. So therefore, these classes that I'm showing you here are kind of amalgamated based on that presumption that there was going to be presentations. That's why we were doing this last week instead of this week. So it's module 13. Now, having said that, I'm going to review quickly where we left off, and then we're going to tap into class 14, which honestly next week, instead of the presentation, and we're just going to have like a fun, greeting, kind of like a review class and just taking it easy. I hope you guys, maybe I can, I know I keep promising you to come see you in the classroom. It just, what happens is the class doesn't finish until a certain time, and then I run out of time. I got to rush right out. So next week should be pretty good. I would be able to see you in person. I can maybe pop by, maybe bring some candies for the holidays or something. Okay, so that's next week. So let's just see where we're at here. So we finished these exercises in the last lesson. We did the bouncing ball templates. We did the motion design for web. We didn't really tap in the Wilson animation exercise PSD file. And we also have another one called a web ready folder with animation. So let me just kind of guide you what these items are. I'm just going to download this one here to the desktop. Oh, this was the website file, I think, that we were just kind of right. So this is when you do the animation. I prepared an HTML file similar that we did in the previous two classes when you did this is like your last composite assignment, the website. So what happens is when you have the images supporting the website in HTML, I have a basic build over here. And what we're going to do is place the animation in the top portion of the website, right? So we're going to put the animation here. So the way you do that is basically from, Photoshop, and of course in HTML you have to put it in there. So I'm going to show you how that works as well, just to kind of finish it off that way. Wilson animation exercise. Download this one here. Let's see how far your memory goes, if you guys remember this type of this movie. I'll give you a tip. It's with Tom Hanks. And there's motion design for web. I think we did this last week. Okay, so just quickly recap this. Yeah, so this one we did already. So I'm going to just open it from my local drive. These two files are something, if you want to go ahead. And like I said, when we finish this today, we're going to move into the other segments today as well. I want to get into the video motion design file as well, just to kind of reinform all this animation techniques in Photoshop.
Milo?
Yes.
Is that Castaway, Mr. Wilson?
Uh, hey, good guess. How'd you do that one?
I watched that movie over like 100 times.
100 times. Well, today's gonna be like 101 times. That's good. How'd you
Yeah.
figure that out so fast, Vanessa?
It's Mr. Wilson. It's the ball.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you got it there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna make your day this morning. I'm sure some of you also will remember what we're talking about. So we're gonna be looking at that. All right. And let me just yeah, so I'm gonna go into that right now. Vanessa remembered what the movie was. See, since we're talking about it, let's see. Um, Everyone remembers Wilson. So this is called Wilson Animation. The reason why we picked Wilson, it just happens from we did this course with the Business School of Humber. They're also learning how to do animations for their, marketing material for their emails or whatever. And this somebody brought up the movie Castaway, right, with Tom Hanks, and we introduced one of the scenes that were a very emotional scene when the only friend he had was his volleyball, and the brand was called Wilson because Wilson makes a lot of these sports goods and equipment and stuff. So we used that theme where he yelled out Wilson and stuff, and it was kind of funny and sad at the same time. So this is what we set up then. I'm just gonna show you quickly how this works here. I'll play it out for you guys there. I don't know if there's audio here. Well, there's no audio here. I don't have it. Yeah, so we're gonna do a different Wilson. Okay, we'll do a different Wilson in the exercise. I don't believe the audio track was here, but you could technically bring in an audio track in Photoshop, and that was the premise of this particular exercise where I'm going to show you how that works as well. Okay, so I'm just going to close this down for a second and come back to this one in a bit. All right, so a lot of files for us to look at today. Let's see what the other ones are. So we got the Wilson, the motion design, the bouncing ball. Right. So let me just go back to the folder from last week now, which is right over here. My Photoshop folder. Good thing we're organized. Otherwise, it's hard to find all these things. Class 12. So here's what happens. We did the basic bouncing ball animation. We took a soccer ball. We used the template that we utilize from a traditional sense, whereas we timed the animation, even the theory of, the law of gravity, how things bounce and they diminish as they bounce toward the ground. Not the most realistic looking bounce, but there's better ways to do this if we spend more time and stuff, right? This is the Photoshop file. This is how the Photoshop file was constructed. This was the template that was used, right? Now here's what I'm getting at. Because these are separate layers and not necessarily they have to be linked, but if they're linked, you can exchange them with other graphics. So if you want to change this soccer ball into, like, let's say a volleyball or a basketball, and if you already did your fair share of work putting these frames together, which is the animation, what's really amazing is that you can literally double click on this layer and it's going to open it up separately. This was only um, available or accessible with a linked graphic file. Right now, Photoshop does it either way. You can literally double click on this because it's a smart object as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be linked. You can double click and it'll open it up separately. Now, whatever you do on this file here and you save it, it'll replace it with the cast member on the animation. This is how most advanced systems work. And this is what makes this exceptional, as the fact that Photoshop introduced the same type of the swap method into its, the animation process. And that's good because in the past you couldn't do this. You had to literally, if this was supposed to be, if this was a different background on different ball, you literally have to change everything, right? So if I wanted to swap, let's say this background here, like the soccer background, let me just quickly show you instead of just talking about it. Let me unlock it first, okay? I'm gonna go get I don't know, maybe a basketball court. I'm gonna get some internet images very quickly. Just watch me do this part for now, and then we'll get involved together with the exercise afterwards. Maybe I'll do a PNG at the end. All right, so I'm gonna right click, save this image here on the desktop. I can always resize it later, and I can get basketball court with maybe perhaps this image over here. Okay, so I'm gonna right click, save this onto the desktop as well. So I have a different theme. I put a lot of hard work into this animation. Of course we didn't. We did this in like minutes, right? But let's just say this was the case. I mean, you put a whole bunch of work into this. I'll show you some other student examples. One person made a video game into this project. This was an actual more like a bigger assignment in the other classes. For you guys, it's more like it's a smaller assignment. It's not weighted as much as the other ones. But some people really went extra here. They did a whole Super Mario Brothers theme, RPG. They made all kinds of video games. So the thing lasted like almost, a couple of minutes, if anything. My suggestion is to keep it under 30 seconds because when you watch television commercials on the internet or television, they're all under 30 seconds or 15 seconds sometimes. That's why you have to keep it short and sweet. Photoshop is okay with that. You can make very short, even videos. You can make videos in Photoshop, yes. You could have done this also 10 years ago. It's nothing new. But the fact that the process is more advanced right now, the linking, the image swapping, there's a lot more advanced features. It's better than it was 10 years ago. But you could do videos and rotoscoping even back in the day, let's say. But now, if you want to do more serious animation and serious video editing, you would resort to programs like it used to be Final Cut Pro and stuff. Now you can use Adobe Premiere. Okay, Adobe Premiere Rush, that's the basic editing one. Adobe After Effects is another big one in the industry. Of course, Adobe Premiere Pro, this is the industry standard right here. So if you want to get into video editing, those are the programs you want to learn. And of course, Adobe Animate, which is another great program that replaced Flash. I don't know if you guys remember Flash. That was another program I used to teach back in my earlier days, and that was the whole animation thing we used to do right in there. This is the replacement now. I don't mind taking you through, maybe not Premiere, because that's a whole new different subject, but this one's a good kind of like a follow-up from what I'm showing you now, so you can see exactly how a more advanced animation interface looks like, and you can understand it because it's very similar to what I'm going to be showing you today. So maybe next week, if we have some extra time, which we should, I'm going to show you a little bit of Adobe Animate, and you can learn something new along the way, okay? Because it is tied in with this whole curriculum here. All right, so let's get down to business now. We're going to be replacing these cast members. Let's call them cast members. That's a term they use in animation. And we're going to replace this background and this soccer ball. So because of that, I'm going to also bring in the just see where these files went here. Oh, there they are. It's because the screen captures end up here too. All right, so I'm going to replace the soccer field and the soccer ball with a basketball court and a basketball. Okay, so first the soccer ball. So there's a soccer ball that I have that I double clicked from the actual layer source because it's linked, or it's a smart object. It works either way. I don't think it'll work any other way, so you have to make sure it's one of the two. I did the same test with the other option as well. I'll show you that afterwards. So what you do this time is you drag the basketball in here instead. Should be a little bigger in size, but anyhow, you match the size. And I should have done a better job looking after the size elements. It's better to if you're gonna do this in the future, you better optimize your images first. That means, make sure the size is adequate and stuff. It does not, like this is 16%. Like this is a huge image right here. It doesn't have to be that big if it's gonna go inside a 700 pixel screen. That's what I'm saying. Because of the fact that we did the exercise and we just focused more on, the task at hand, we looked over some of these important things too. So I wanted to make sure I point that out so you don't overlook it. This is 16%. It should be like this at 100%. Now I can't change it now because it's gonna mess everything up here, but just make sure you do the proper size. You don't need 5,000 pixel for a ball, and the overall presentation that you're putting together is actually 1024. You get me? Right? Because look at the size of this ball. It's probably like 300 pixels. So this, in theory, should be 300 pixels, right? Let me just save it for now, and I can also show you after how you can resample it. So if I hit save right now, right? If I go back to this here, I think I did something here. Command E. There we go. I had to merge the layers. I guess the layer had to be even saved on top. So I did, here's what I did. I went to merge down. Merge down, Command E is merge down. It's a shortcut, and that merged with the soccer ball. I did a quick save. And then over here, you can see here, the soccer ball. I mean, the basketball took over the soccer ball. Okay. Same thing you can do with the background. If you double click, there's the background. Let's bring in the other background. Oh, I should unlock it first. Oh, this is a web page file. So I'm just going to do this quickly. Just going to do a little trick here. And I'll do a screen capture holding control, right? That's how you can do a quick screen capture. I'm going to hit paste and just resize and just do that. Or I can just get a different picture and waste more time. But I'll just do it this way to get the point across, so it's going to work. There we go. Command E again, merge the two layers, save them, okay? Okay, so I got to go to flatten image, I think. Layer, it's telling me the original file was flattened, so I got to flatten it. Then I save it. And then this should change based on my updating of my cast members, which is the ball and the court. It just changed automatically to a different theme altogether. And this is pretty cool stuff. Like when I discovered this, I was like, wow, Photoshop is really, you know, on the next level type of in comparison to other advanced animation programs, because you can exchange graphics. And this was the big thing that we couldn't do before. You kind of stuck with what you have. So this way you can swap stuff. And the animation stays intact, right? So I tested this theory on another example. This is why I'm showing you this, because you can appreciate this now once you learn how animation works. There's no point me telling you this beforehand, right? Because you'd be like, what does that even mean? But now that you can invest some time doing a whole animation, maybe hours and hours of work, and all of a sudden you decide to swap something like a ball or a background or anything in your animation, you can easily do that just the way I showed you right now. Okay, so I'm just going to delete these images here and going to my Humber folder. In my web production class, we did something similar yesterday. We looked at some other ads, things like this, like how do you make this for, you know, promotional marketing stuff. And we were to open gifts from the internet and figure out how they put all these frames together, right? Something like this as well. Well, we made the ticker kind of go all around the clock. This clock was made in Illustrator because it's vector and you can just superimpose it on top of an image. And you can do these animations to make promotional stuff. And we did the GIF of the image similar to what we did here. The difference was we changed the actual graphics. So this is what happened. This is the Photoshop file, right? What I did was I linked this. This was linked. So when I went to file place, I went to place linked. It's just better than embedded because you can really edit the original linked file. In this case, if you're going to plan on doing changes and stuff, link the graphics. Same as the logo and the airplane. Everything was linked. So what happened was when I went to edit the logo, I just went with the paint bucket and I'm painting this red. Okay, let me just quickly play it out for you. And then I went to change the airplane into a TIE fighter. So instead of the animation looking like it did here, airplane, Air Miles logo, and Air Canada logo, right? I basically had some fun and I swapped some of the graphics with changing them. So basically I did the Air Miles logo So it looked like this basically. Oh, let me just go back here again. So I changed the airplane with a TIE fighter. If you're a Star Wars fan, you might know it as just like an X-wing. It's a fighter squadron, you know, fighting ship from Star Wars. And then I changed the color in air miles, and then basically when I did that, it updated my entire animation. Well, hold on a second. I think I have to update these files because I haven't done them yet. There we go. Let's do a quick save. Quick save. I think I have to update them. Something happened here with my linked files. Yeah, I think I moved things around too much, but this was the file that I used, and this was the image, and it resulted to that going here. Let's see what happened here. Right. See what happened with the links here. Edit contents. Oh, that's weird. It's not placing it. But it did change it to these graphics, okay? I don't know. I just have to maybe parse the file. Something happened here with this one. Maybe I can open it again. I did it yesterday. It was working. So this whole animation looked, basically I changed it to this red here, and I put a TIE fighter instead of the airplane. Right, so it does work if you swap it. You just have to, I'll show you again with a different example. You just have to be careful because I do a lot of moving around. Like I had this somewhere else, the folder, and maybe it linked the files to another location and it's not clear, reading these clearly. So maybe I can just relink these maybe. That's the one. So it's this one here. It's still playing the old file. It's kind of cool though, because we just replaced the two and it worked just like that. Embed all links. Embed links, maybe? Let's try to embed the links, perhaps. Okay, I'll do that one. This one here as well. I just want to figure this out in case you might run into the same problem. Embed the links. Oh, there we go. So I'm just going to embed the links, I guess. It was still working. I don't know why, maybe because I moved it around or something, but if you embed them, it might just solidify the whole process better. Let me play it again here. So there we go. So TIE Fighter, Air Miles logo with the red change and stuff. Okay, so that's how we were able to swap the graphics with our new cast members, right? All right, so we did this last week. I'm not going to waste any more time going over stuff we already did. Watch the video if you're not clear on how this is done. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to execute this. It was based on this was all based on a frame by frame method. And we took advantage of all the different components and capabilities, or parameters, I should say, in the software. The parameters were movement, which means we can move objects from left to right, like we did with this X-wing TIE fighter. Okay, we moved the logo down. Okay, we also did effects, which is the glow effect here. We also did the movement by moving the objects away from each other. The Air Canada logo dropping from the top down. We also did opacity, which means the logo just appeared from a 0% to 100% opacity. So that's another thing we did with this whole thing. All right. So those were the three parameters. And just in case you're wondering, well, what parameters is he talking about? Any 4 frames, don't do this afterwards. You got to do it beforehand. So maybe remember we did oh, let me see here. Select only 2. So these are the parameters: position, opacity, and effects. Okay, so that's the ones we covered. And with those three alone, you can do a lot, but not everything. Okay, not everything in terms of scale, rotation. Okay, those are the main two, like transforms. Because when you do edit free transform, as you know, you can do scale. It'd be nice if we can make the logo appear bigger or smaller as it comes in. Well, this doesn't cover that. Okay, it'd also be nice if the ball, as it was bouncing, it rotated. That's possible, but you have to make every frame rotate and account for every layer and every frame as you put it inside the animation. So it's a lot of tedious effort that you have to do on your part. Okay, if you do it this way, not impossible, but it's a lot more work, and sometimes it's not worth it. Okay, if you're gonna do something more advanced, that means you have to take Photoshop to the next level, and this is where I'm getting at today, and this is why I'm introducing it the way I'm doing it, just to hype it up a little more. So I'm going to put this stuff all away just to kind of take it to the next part. All right, for the next part, I want you to grab these sources because you're going to do this with me. All right, so you're going to grab this folder here that I placed onto the class 13 motion design module. It's called Wilson animation exercise. Grab these two files. The one I covered them earlier, we had a nice laugh with the movie. Vanessa brought up Castaway, and we had a nice chuckle because that's exactly what this was from. And you know what? We'll continue the tradition. I'm going to find Castaway, the movie. I'm going to grab a YouTube clip quickly, and I'm going to import it here for you guys, and you can use the soundtrack, and we can have some fun with it and have a nice go at this, okay? So if you download these two files, we can start doing the actual planning. So there's the Wilson animation exercise. I'm going to open it up so you can show you exactly what this is. So this is more like a video timeline. Okay. Now, how did I make this? This was all done from scratch. So maybe I can just show you how this was done also. Right. So how do we make we made this right from scratch? And this also covers how to do filters. So rather than you starting from this point onwards, you're going to wonder, well, how did he come up with this? What is this thing? It's timeline stuff. So this was the other option that you're given when you make an animation in Photoshop. You can either do frames, or you can switch this bottom left corner to timeline. I could have done this with my other folder as well. Just gonna open it up again. The Air Canada commercial that we did. This was all in frames. It's not a good idea that you do this though. You do this from the get-go, from the very beginning. You pick either or. You don't just halfway decide to do timeline. It doesn't work like that, right? But if I was to change this to a timeline, then everything just looks a little like it still works, but this gives you an actual timeline layered version of this animation. Now, if you're experienced, which you will be when you do this assignment, so you get more familiar, you should be able to work with this even afterwards, but you can't go from here to here. It's not gonna work as good. So maybe if there's an exception, you could go to timeline afterwards and do more advanced stuff. If that's the case, then you have to open each one and look at all these different parameters that were included. Like all those little blocks that you see here, these are all the different keyframes that were enabled with everything that we did. So in this case, it was the opacity for the Air Canada logo. And you can see the opacity here was 36%, and here was another, and here was another. I got to move this together so to show you 73%, right? So this is how it was done using more advanced form of animation. This is why I didn't do this from the first day, because you'd be like, what the heck is all this stuff? This is After Effects. After Effects, we used to call After Effects like Photoshop on steroids, because he'd be doing all these amazing things that Photoshop can, but in a timeline fashion, which means you can do some motion design. That's why motion design is an important subject. I wish we taught it more here, but it's a whole new different, you know, approach as well, right? Because you're dealing with motion, animations and stuff. But this is basically what I'm going to teach you today is motion design in Photoshop, which segues into After Effects if you want to, because this is all what After Effects looks like. So if I open up After Effects right now, I can show you. I think I took out my shortcut for a second. And you can have a good appreciation of the two, you know, different software and how they work together. So this is After Effects. I don't know if I opened up the latest version on this computer. I think I have. They teach After Effects in the video editing programs, even before when we had like the Final Cut Pro, the Avid machines, the more advanced video editing software that we used to do. After Effects was still a very good part of the program, which they taught for that same reason, creating effects for videos. But now it's used mostly for like motion design, okay? So if you look up anything with motion design in Adobe, you're gonna look at, there's other software out there. I know there's tons, right? So motion design, After Effects, right? So basically, best After Effects templates. There's all kinds of After Effects for motion graphics. So whether you do stuff like commercials or introductions and stuff, this is where motion design happens at its best, okay? So, you know, there's a lot of different videos you can watch and stuff, effects, but it's a whole new different level of things. And I don't want to get into that because it's really gonna put us in a tailspin here. But as you can see, this is the newer version that I haven't opened yet. So it's opening for the first time since the last update, I guess. Some cool, you know, a splash banner for the software as well. I'm going to show you that in a moment. So basically, I'm going to show you how this interface here correlates with After Effects as the professional motion design editing tool, right? So this is it right here. See, this is the same timeline that you're looking at. Just hope they didn't switch. Every time I open the programs, I hope they didn't switch it too much. So now they have 3D model import, enhanced roto brush, I should say, which means you can clean up the backgrounds better, properties panel, essential properties, content aware fill for video. Wow. They're actually integrating AI right now on video, which is really cool. So this is some next level stuff, guys. I've never seen this before. Multi-frame rendering and motion graphic templates, which you can actually do as well, okay? So, and you can do a tutorial if you want, you can get right into it, but you know, like I said, I'm not gonna bother with that right now. I'm just gonna show you how this works. And this is pretty much the interface. We'll do a quick new composition here, right? And this is the timeline, right? Just gonna minimize this. All right, so the timeline is set to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. This is it right here. If I bring in anything in here, it's going to look very similar to the Photoshop piece. Let me just import a file here quickly. I'm going to go to the desktop. Right. So as soon as I brought it in, you can see here, see all these different transformation points that I'm looking at. It's all about what After Effects can do, right? So whatever I do here, like position, so you can change the position. So now it'll do the animation on that. If I do it over here, I'll do another position and I can move it over here. See, After Effects will animate this. It's called keyframes. But After Effects, obviously, because it's After Effects, it has a lot more than scale, rotation, opacity. Actually, it has the same stuff. Honestly, the transform is the same as Photoshop's. Even anchor point is just an anchor point. So these things are no different than what I'm going to show you in a more comfortable environment like Photoshop, because we already know what Photoshop interface looks like, but you can easily translate those skills into this program here just by, you have to take like a nice deep dive in learning some. Look, the pen tool is here still. You can draw stuff with the pen tool. You got the text for titles. You have all the wonderful tools and features that, Photoshop might have, but only for video. You're not going to get a Photoshop tool set here. So the idea is you prepare your material in Photoshop or video sources, you bring them in here and you create your animation or your graphics. You can bring stuff from Illustrator, like a logo or a vector file, and you bring it in here and you do the whole animation. Okay, so that's what After Effects looks like. And it looks intimidating at first, but once you dive into it, it's really not all that. It's just a fun software to work with. It just takes a little maybe planning to get familiar with. Okay, so I'm not gonna save this right now. I was comparing this to this, okay, how this works. So rather than us diving into this, let's do it from scratch so you can actually really understand how the setup works and what this stuff really, really means. So therefore, let's go ahead and make a new document. I'm going to close this one down. I'd rather start from scratch. I've always been a firm believer of learning something right from the beginning so you understand how everything works instead of me throwing something at you and saying, here, figure it out, right? So new file. We're going to go to film and video because, yes, Photoshop is capable to do videos and film as well. We can do 1920, 1080, which is high definition television. And yes, there's also 4K capabilities and 8K even now. I don't know if I've never done 8K in Photoshop, to be honest with you. 4K, I've maybe just tested its capabilities, but we're sticking with high definition because this works on most platforms, okay? And it's even if you watch some of the videos today in cable and stuff, they're still HD, okay? So HD, 1920, 1080 is the actual size. Now for the animation assignment that I gave you or the exercise, it's a lot smaller than that. So you can go ahead and stick to that requirement. I'll revisit that after to make sure you have the right size. But for now, we're going all out. We're going to hit the create button. Minimize this timeline here. And by the way, this timeline, so I'm looking at this at 66%. If it's 100%, okay, let's do 100% so it's nice and proper. So 100% view. Here's our basic screen. We want to go to Window and open up the timeline. And the timeline is where everything will be orchestrated from. All right, so there it is. I like to dock the timeline by dragging it to the bottom of the screen. Notice how it highlights blue. The blue means it's going to stick. So it's going to become part of my entire interface. And that's how docking works. Just a quick refresher. I know I don't want to sound too repetitive. Just like any of these palettes, if you have them floating, you can dock them back in just by watching this thing highlight in blue, and there it goes. All right, so there's our timeline. The options given to do a frame animation, which we did last week, I asked you to click here, or if you click here, you can switch it to a video timeline. So you can set this up from the very beginning, a frame animation or a video timeline. Well, we already did this last week. Okay, so I already went over some of the other details and particulars on how you can edit your frame animation by swapping graphics and stuff. Today, we're going to get into the video timeline. So if you click here, you're going to change this whole interface to, oh, you have to acknowledge it by clicking on it again. So once you select it from here, you have to click this button to convert this to a video timeline. And whatever layers you have here, it'll present them down here in a timeline fashion. So it'll say like, layer 0. All right. And if you make this a little longer, this little bar on the bottom, the left corner, you can elongate the actual sequence. So you can see how, 5 seconds look like. So 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. If I press the play button, let's count at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's 5 seconds exactly what we have, right? So we're going to start at the very beginning here. There's our timeline. Let's make some kind of a nice, interesting background and something nice and plain like white, and we'll make it more fun. Let's make this.
Milo, sorry for cutting you off. Well,
Yeah,
I
go on.
just want to know, where did you get this timeline from? The
Give me one second.
second, that is the bar, this, the layer.
Abdul Malik, right?
Yeah,
What you want to do is this. You want to make sure you go to you made a new document already, right?
yeah.
Okay. So after that, you go to Window and you open the timeline. Did you do that one?
Yes, I've done that.
And then after that, did you click on the video timeline?
Yes, let's create a video timeline.
And then click on the button. There's a button right there. Just click on it. Create video timeline.
Okay.
You should get this. If you don't see the whole thing
Okay,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah. I've done it. Thanks.
and this little thing here on the bottom, you can expand it more and in and out. Make sure you don't go past the halfway point because you're gonna lose track of time.
Okay.
Keep it within the visual aspect like this, right?
Okay.
Very good. No, good question.
Thank you.
So I always get, this is the starting is always confusing because you've never done it before. So please, if anybody else has a problem, let me know now because I want to make sure everyone's on point. And once you do it once, it's easy to remember the next time. Okay. So here we are. This is the 5-second timeline base. Now, I want to keep this more interesting. So let's call this the background. I'll call it BG for background. Look what happens here. It renames this as the background. So basically what you do here reflects the timeline here. Back in the day when I did the animation, we call this a space to time. Space is accumulated vertically. Time is distributed horizontally. So whatever you accumulate in space and you work with time, that's how we kind of, most animation programs or in software work the same way. Okay, so let's go ahead and press D for default. Okay, this is our palette here. We're gonna change this black to blue. You can pick any color, but it's blue and white. You can go to filter, render, clouds. So I have like a nice cloud texture background, which we did something similar from last week. Only this time we're going to create more like a landscape. So I'm going to use my selection tool, maybe select half of this bottom half and make another texture, let's say. Let's go to filter, render, fibers. There's not too many. I don't know if you guys played around with the tree and the flame. Well, maybe we'll have some fun today, or maybe next week with some filters too. I want to show you some of the other advanced stuff you can do. So let's go with fibers. And fibers gives you this nice rocky snow kind of texture. So I'm going to just increase the strength and the vibrance a bit. And press OK. Just like outside today when I went to my car to clean the snow out. We get into that weather point. Looks like a big giant iceberg stuck there. All right. Now I'm going to separate this in a new layer. So watch this. I'm going to hit Command J. That means this now is on a separate layer on top of the background. And having done that, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Perspective. I don't think we've done perspective before. Maybe we've done the basic rotate and distort and skew and scale. But perspective basically does this. It gives you perspective. So it looks like you're looking at a planar tile type of landscape design. I'm going to zoom out a bit more just to make it a little more visible, and then just press OK. So this created the fact that this is now like maybe you're staring at the waterfall or some kind of illusion, or looking up at an iceberg. Whatever you see is what you get, right? We can also change the color slightly by going to image adjustments. We'll do a quick hue and saturation from the menu, not necessarily from the adjustment layer. I'm just going to change this to something else. Maybe just perhaps make it maybe a little darker or lighter and just change some of the variables that way. All right, so we'll do that, and then we're ready to go to the next part. So I'm just having a little more creative stuff here. Right. I just want to make it a little different than the background. So it looks like, instead of this, it looks like that. So there's some kind of a landscape to go by. Okay, now we're going to merge these two layers. And honestly, you don't have to do this. You can just keep a background, simple thing. It's fine. Just hit Command E. Again, the shortcut to merge the layers is merge down. If you right click and you go to merge down, merge down, Command E. I just use the shortcut so much, I sometimes forget where the menu is. So if you do that, it'll just merge these two layers together. It just keeps this easier to work with. So you have one background layer, not like 3 background layers, right? Or 2 in this case. Okay, so now that we did that, let's create our object. Instead of bringing a ball, let's make our own. We're gonna go ahead and use the elliptical tool. We're gonna hold Shift and make a nice selection here. We can position this selection wherever we want. Of course, with the same elliptical selection tool, we're going to hit Command J, which is copy and paste. Okay, we do that, and now we have this circle that looks like a ball. It'll look like some people call it the predator because it camouflages to the background. Okay, so once you do that, you can select this by command clicking on it. So you have a selection of it. And we can do things like more filters. We can do filter, stylize, which is the one we can do. And I'm just throwing stuff on the whim here. I'm not really, just trying to make this a little more engaging. I'm going to do spherize. Spherize does a nice effect. Again, make sure the selection is there. It just makes it more 3-dimensionally round and stuff. You can see you can do inside or outside, concave or there we go. Press OK. If you want to do it one more time, go ahead. Filter, spherize again. And I think that's enough. Okay. You can also do things like, what else did we do here? Burn and dodge. This also does some nice effects on top of that. So you can burn the outside edges to make it look like it's more rounded and stuff. Okay. I think I overdid it there for a second. Maybe 1 or 2 swipes is good enough, right? And of course, then you have the dodge tool, which does the highlights. And I remember we did this in the earlier part of the image correction class. All right, so all we created here was this cool looking predator ball that looks like it's the background. It's like some kind of an alien craft, and it's going to move across the stage. Okay, so the way that's going to work is we're going to keep it nice and simple with this timeline in mind. So we have the ball here on a separate layer. We can call this ball. This is the background, and we have the timeline set up. And of course, I keep that zoom thing going, so it's capturing my whole 5 seconds of animation. I can keep this longer. Maybe I can predefine the length to make it, let's see, let's go to 10 seconds. We'll do a 10-second animation, okay? 10 seconds. I'm also going to increase the background to 10 seconds. So the whole duration is 10 seconds, exactly, all right? And we start from the beginning, and we go right to the 10-second mark. Maybe we can change the ball slightly with the hue and saturation, just to kind of make the color a little different. Right. All right. Let's save this, save as. We'll call this alien ball theme, okay? If you want, I can upload this on the, actually I don't have to because you already have this file. I just showed you how to make it. So I'm going to save this onto my desktop. And if you want to follow this exercise, you can download the exact file I just created from this particular area here. It's called Wilson Animation Exercise. Wilson Animation Exercise, if you download that, it already has this thing prepared for you like I did, ready to go. The difference is I wanted to show you how I did this. So you can kind of know how to set up whether you want to place your own graphics, you want to place your background. I made everything from scratch so you can kind of learn the basics, and then you can make this look like, after we'll do like a real commercial. We'll do the Wilson commercial with Expedia or something. I already planned that out for you guys. I have the folder there. You might want to change the background though, but we'll still keep the same tactics in mind here, okay? All right. So what happens next, once we save the file, and like I said, you can access this from the module and you can just follow me along. What happens is we got to define what happens with this cast member. I'm going to move it here. So it's going to come from the outside. And you should also have a storyboard. And I was emphasizing this to my other class the other day about storyboarding. And you can find things like animation storyboard, right? And this is what some of them look like. Like you literally have to, plan this whole thing out. How's it going to work? You can't just sit here and do an animation. There's a lot of work that goes into the planning phase as well. People get paid really well to do storyboarding, whether it's for a movie, for a sitcom, for a commercial, anything, right? So that's why you need this stuff there. And then you proceed with the production end. Now let's say we have the storyboard already set up for us. The alien ball will come in. We'll maybe blink a few times and just disappear into the distance and then come back again. I don't know. We'll come up with something. But to do that, we got to have a plan. Maybe I'll have the ball come in from the center. It'll zoom in. Remember, we couldn't do this in the previous example because the frame-by-frame method doesn't support scale. It supports position, which is movement. It covers opacity, which is opacity, and it covers effects, which is the layer effects, but it didn't cover scale and rotate and those other things. So in this example, I'm going to demonstrate the things that we couldn't do in the last lesson. So to start, basically, I'm going to ask you to open up, maybe make this a little bigger, and you can open up this arrow here to see all the different parameters that we can control when it comes to the keyframe aspect of this timeline. Not necessarily for the background, but more so for the ball. Okay. And the first thing we're going to establish is the position, which is here. Okay. And we're also going to make this, I think we have to make this a smart object. Otherwise, it won't be able to do the transform properly. That's one thing I forgot to mention, which is important. So when you create your graphics or bring graphics in from there, by default, they should be smart objects. Because I made this one from scratch, it isn't. So I'm going to just convert it to a smart object right now. There we go. Right. So if you notice now, I have a transform instead of a position value, which is important. So make sure, like, if you bring something in, it's a smart object. And usually when you go file, import, place embedded, it becomes a smart object by default anyways. Okay. So having said that, let's go ahead and now open up this transform little box. Notice how I clicked on it and this yellow diamond showed up. This yellow diamond means I already made a keyframe in the very beginning of my animation. What that also means is I can do some kind of a change that I desire. So if I press Command T or Control T, I'm just going to resize this to a very, very small speck. Okay, so I'm going to move it right over here, basically. All right, so it's going to be nice and small coming in. Whatever that object is, it's going to fly right at us, right? So how fast will it fly? At what point of time will it appear? So maybe I'll go to the halfway mark. I'll go to exactly maybe the 5-second mark, which is right here, okay? And you can tell where you are. From down here, you can go to, you can even set time if you want. You can click here, right? Right? 5 seconds exactly. If you hold shift, I think it even snaps at the 5-second interval, right? Whatever, 5 seconds, even if it's off by a millisecond, that's fine. But I'm at the halfway point now, which is the 5-second mark. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger, right? And I'm ready to do something different on this object here. by me acknowledging the playhead to be aligned on the 5, very important, you put the playhead. It's all about this playhead. This is what you really have to focus on now. Your selection, the playhead, and the time. What happens now is I'm going to go and hit this other little diamond button to make an additional keyframe. So basically have a keyframe that I made from here, and I can access them this way or that way. So this other keyframe that I made now is when I click on the ball and I make the change that I want. In this case, I'll press Command T. I'm going to scale the size to this size here and have it kind of blow up right in front of me. Okay, so if I press Enter, it'll do just that. I think I had to do that for the, well, no, it's fine. I was going to say I might have to maybe do it first and then back and forth. No, it should work the way I did it. So basically, it'll go from here to there. So that's how you create a nice zoom in sequence. Really cool, right? In addition to that, I'm also going to make another one, which is opacity. So I'm going to go back to the first keyframe, click on the opacity one, right? Go to this last keyframe, create another opacity one. So I have 2 opacity keyframes that I'm creating, okay? And then what I'm going to do in the opacity is also bring this down to 0%. So not only is it going to appear from the distance and come at us, it's going to also become transparent, like, you know, reserve the opacity. So it's going to come like that. It's like a real movie transition effect. So it's going to do that. Right now, style is like an effect and stuff, so you can make it like glow and all this other kind of things. Might as well just cover that as well since I'm doing everything. Hit style. Again, a keyframe shows up here, and a keyframe shows up here, right? And the style will be this. I got a double click, and this is what layer style is. The style basically, I'm going to do a nice outer glow, and it's going to do a nice. You know, glowing effect. Perhaps something like this might work, right? Right, it's going to be glowing. And basically, when I go from the very beginning, which is here, this other keyframe, make sure this is aligned. I've seen a lot of glitches happen if it's not aligned on the right keyframe. Notice how this one has the effect, this one doesn't. The style is very particular. We should have done it from the beginning, which is fine. You can easily now simply delete. I just deleted that keyframe. I'm going to option drag this one over here. Oh, that option works. Never mind, option, it used to work. Option used to work. Okay, whatever. So I have this one here. Let's go to this one over here. So you have to just add it this way. Just click on the button. So presumably what you want to do is this. You want to add the effect first, and then go back to the previous frame and just add the keyframe. It'll duplicate the effect. Otherwise, it won't show up. You have to do it again, basically. That's if you want to do an effect. Sometimes the effects are not really necessary. Like this is like an overkill. It's too many things at once. But sometimes you might need to do everything at once because all you can do is transform, opacity, and style. So in that case, I'm going to go back to the glow for a second here and just lower these values. I'm going to go like, 10 here, 27 here. I'm just guessing because I can't even see it. But I'm lowering it quite drastically to see the effect. So when this thing comes out, even the glow increases at the same time. So it's a really cool transition of the two. Okay, so it's going to basically look like this. All right. And then it stays, right? It stays, but does it stay? So we'll kind of come out at us like this. And then another thing that we can do here, so all these things that I just did, we couldn't do in the previous methods. Well, the glow and the opacity, yeah, but not with scale and position at the same time. So I'm going to go to the very end now, which is at the end here, and double up these keyframes like transform, opacity, and style. Okay. So what I'm going to do at the end here is basically, we'll just move the accident. is grab the ball and move it across the stage, and it'll just roll right away. Right now, it's just gonna come in and move because I told it to move at the end. What I'm also gonna do is, let's go to properties for a second, is do a rotation. The rotation is right here. You can do a custom rotation, but I prefer to do it on the thing here. You can go up to 180, believe it or not. You can also type 360, but if you do that, it's just gonna do one of these. It's gonna roll away. See, 180 works really well. So it comes in, 180 roll, okay? I'll type in 360. Sometimes it'll equal out to 0. So let me just see if 360 works. So see, 180 doesn't let me do more than that apparently. How about 245? No, 180. Okay, so 180 is a max because you can just go like this and it'll do 180 all the way across, right? So this is the things you can do with the video animation, right? So if you press play, come on like this, and it'll roll away nice and slowly. 10 seconds, right? So it's kind of fast. If you wanted to go faster, then you make this not as long. You can, let's see if I can scale this a lot faster. Let's say I want this to be 5 seconds instead of 10 seconds, right? If you press the space bar, it'll play it out. Right? Nice and slowly. 9, 10. And it's a little slower than normal because of the way the computer is rendering the scene and the graphics and everything that takes place. So what I'm going to do now is basically select all these layers here. Yes, if you do this, you're not really condensing everything. It doesn't really work that way. So it's very finicky in that sense. So you literally have to grab the keyframes and move them all together. Let's say I'm going to the 2.5 second mark, okay? Now I'm going to grab these 3 keyframes and move them over to the 5 second mark, right? And then I'll grab everything else here and I'll match it up to the end of this sequence. Whoops. Right. So what I just did there was I made this a lot faster by condensing the time from 10 seconds down to 5 seconds. Now, you shouldn't have to do this. You should plan it accordingly. But in case you do, you can always move these around, the keyframes and the background and stuff. Okay. If I press play now, it's going to be a little faster. So it's 2.5 seconds and 2.5 seconds, right? Maybe with the background, what I want to happen also is, let me just do this. For example, I'm going to hit Command T. Well, the background is longer to begin with, okay? I'm going to stretch it a little more. Just because I want to create an effect. Technically, the background might be bigger than the artboard. It looks bigger now because I have the perspective effect that I did. But if I want to move the background, I'm just going to simply do this at the very beginning. I'm going to do position, okay? And go over here and apply another position, but do nothing. You see, I'm not doing anything. But from this point to the end point, I'm going to add another position. Okay, maybe I can move these a little. And the position for this, for the background, I'm going to move it over to a small amount. So then the background moves as well as the ball. Kind of creates a nice, movement effect of the same thing happening at the same time. So that's what I did there. And of course, sky's the limit. I mean, as creative as you want to be, you can make lots of things happen. Once you master these basic elements and tools, transform, opacity, style, and not necessarily to use all of them. You can just use one or two and just work with the timeline and get familiar with it. And, you're going to come up with some really cool animations. Right, so I made that happen there. And there we go. All right, so let's do a quick save. And when this is saved, you're saving an actual movie file. Sorry, a Photoshop file, I should say. And chances are you want to make this into a movie file. To do that, you'll have to literally convert this into a movie and export it as an MP4. But what's a movie without audio? So we should maybe put some audio in here. And we can grab some audio from the internet, maybe. We can grab an actual movie, like a movie we can download or some kind of an audio track, and we can put it in there. I think I might have an audio track. Let me see here. Oh, brother. Let me see here. The AIF. Funk, Frog, Basso. These are all like effects and stuff. All right. All right, so you know what I'll do? I'm gonna go to the internet quickly just to get like that Wilson clip that we're gonna get. So YouTube, and we're gonna do Wilson clip. Sorry, I should call it Castaway. Wilson clip. Castaway. Wilson clip. Here we go. Okay, so this is the actual clip from the movie Wilson. So we'll see if we can capture it here.
Wilson! Wilson! Wilson!
Right. Not that you want to do this, but if you want to grab your own sources from movies and stuff, YouTube to MP3, YouTube to MP3 or MP4, you can download some of these converters. And sometimes they do work, but be careful of all these spams and ads that they're going to probably do. So I'll do that in the meantime. Maybe I'll do an MP4 conversion. I'll do the conversion for you, but there's a lot of these websites you can get to convert MP3. I don't want to do this one here. But you can grab these videos when you download them, even on YouTube, there's a download option you can get, and you can just bring in the MP audio track file down here, and it's going to work for you. I'll do it during the break just to grab something, and then we can incorporate that one. You can just go like this, add audio, right? And you can just go here. There's another program called Rush. I really like this one here. We taught this one in the other program, the Business School of Humber, and they were learning Rush on how to do commercials. And yes, I was doing that one as well. We're doing commercials and different marketing elements that we're learning. So creating a commercial was the last one. So that one has a lot of audio clips we can use as well. Another software that I have is because all my music I listen to now, it's like Spotify, iTunes. You can't even download it. It's all streamed, right? So I don't really have my MP3s anymore like I used to. So I'm just going to quickly grab something from here. Wow, so this is Adobe Premiere Rush. It's simpler version than Adobe Premiere. So see, all these programs are related. After Effects, Premiere, and Rush. Those are the three. video programs Adobe provides you. With the subscription that you have with the school, you have access to all these programs. So I encourage you, even during the break, and if you have some time, you know, you want to take advantage of these software, go right ahead. Do some really cool things. This is Adobe Premiere Rush. And maybe we'll create a new project here. Let's see here. No, I'll just open up an existing one. It's fine. Whatever, I'll do one of these. So we'll go to the desktop. Where is the thing? Yeah, the desktop is fine. I just needed to grab a source. So it's going to ask you to bring in some elements to start with, like anything else. So I have a picture here of, I think we did a Microlium, the #1 choice for world disinfectants all over the world. Our global mission is to bring the chain of infection. Come join us. You can't tell me the deck is stacked. So we did this little commercial in the other thing. We did a 15-second clip. So we used different images, videos, and logos, and superimposing to put this together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this quickly just to show you how you can bring a movie or audio into the programs here. I'm going to go to the desktop for now. And I'll do an MP4 export, okay? MP4, 24 megs, advanced settings. I'll just keep it all default here. I'll export the commercial that we made probably like a year ago or something. And the reason why I like Rush is because when you do have, you know, your audio here, you can just go to audio and you get all kinds of audio clips you can use. And I guess I can export these if I want, but you know, there's basically different. So you can get all kinds of more audio clips and stuff, and you can get lots of cool things, right? A lot of fun doing this stuff, right? So you can bring in all kinds of music, and then I guess you can export it, or I can find these sources from the folder that the program resides in, because I'm sure they're saved somewhere. So you can, once you get this software loaded, Premiere Rush, you can get all these songs too, the sound effects. So now that I exported this, Microlium, the #1. So this is a commercial choice in the world. So I'm gonna bring this one here, and I did a voiceover too. I didn't really master my voiceover, but that's fine. That's what we did. So we're gonna grab this in here. You can just literally drag it. Can I drag it? There we go. Drag it now. No, can't drag it. All right, no dragging. I'm not a big fan of dragging stuff in anyways. I'd rather be controlling it this way. So if you click on the little audio track file, you can go to add audio. You can also make a new audio track. But if you go to add audio, it'll give you the option of which audio you want. So you can choose an MP4, which is like a movie that you can download. You can grab the audio track from that movie. But I don't recommend you do that just like that, because you should edit the audio first, grab the exact length that you need, and then bring in exactly what you need. So I'm going to go with this 15-second clip, which will fit here. I'm going to go open, and it will convert the audio. It'll extract the audio from the video and bring it in my animation in Photoshop, which is really cool, because it's not just visuals now. You can bring in your own audio clip, but it'll give you the entire duration of the clip. So it's like that. And I can then maybe don't want the whole thing. I can maybe just grab the beginning. Look, I can kind of chop it like this. Hey, a little more. Oh, there we go. I'm bringing it from the left to the right. So now it's going to be a lot less. I can also stretch it out. So audio editing is a whole new thing that there's a volume, there's a fade in, there's a fade out feature. Oh, come on. Let me extend this here. Oh, there we go. I can extend it now. It's going to be patient with it because it's a large file. And then I can extend it this way because I did chop it from the front to the middle. So now I have the audio playing here separately. And yes, there's an audio program too, guys. You want to do some audio editing, you can use Audition. It's called Audition, Adobe Audition. You can do the Audition. Here we go. You can really have some fun with this software to edit your audio. So maybe that's a good one we should have used as well for audio because it's strictly audio. You can make your own music, okay? You can plug in your instruments. You can record, whether you want to play the piano, the guitar, the drums. You can create your own soundtracks and stuff. You can do a voiceover. You can become a, a celebrity overnight if you want to have the right things going on. Okay, let me just play this now. So I'm gonna, while I'm loading Audition in the background, I'm gonna play this to show you how easy it was to bring in the MP4 track with my animation. So Adobe Audition is an audio software. Again, you should have it as part of your suites. Let me see here, Essential Sounds. I know there's samples here too you can get, so you can just get multi-track stuff you can work with. Anyways, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's audio things you can do here. And what's cool about this, you can actually record your audio really nicely. New audio file. Check 1, 2. This is test 1, 2, 3. Let's see how this audio works out. Oh. Check 1, 2. This is test 1, 2, 3. Let's see how this audio works out. Test 1, 2, 3. Let's test. You can really do some stuff with the audio. You can even verb it. You can do an echo. You can do lots of cool sounds. What's good is you can also bring in audio tracks, and you can mix multiple tracks, and all of a sudden you become like a music producer, become your own Dr. Dre or something like that if you want to make some music, right? So really some cool stuff you can do here with Adobe Audition. And of course there was like Final Pro Tools. Pro Tools was the original audio editing software, right? Then there's some other ones that took over after the years, Logic and some other programs, and till right now, I think Audition is up there. It's used with some of the more popular programs. Okay, so you can use a lot of the Adobe software to help you with this, but back to this, I don't want to get away too far from what I'm showing you here, but it's important because it all ties together. So here it is. A short little clip, but you get the idea. All right, so what happens now is I want to make this a movie. I get to go ahead and go to File, Export. Let me save it first. So File, Export, Render Video. Okay, so last week we did Save for Web. If you want to do a GIF animation, you can, and put that on the website. But if you want to render the video, it has to be done this way. So under Export, Render Video, and Photoshop is going to do just that. So this will be an MP4 file by default. You can also change that. You can have the format, which is this one. You can do QuickTime or DPX. I stick with the default here. The document size you can change if it's too big. The frame rate is usually 2997, which is equivalent to 30 frames a second. And everything else pretty much stays the same. You don't have to do much here. Just maybe the destination that where the video is going to be saved onto, or make a subfolder if you wish. So once you hit the render button, it'll export the video as an independent MP4 file. Just like when I do these video recordings with my lectures, I save them from Teams and I upload it to the YouTube channel I made for us to, follow up with these lectures and stuff. So now I made an alien ball video from Photoshop. It's an MP4 file. Last week we did the animation as a GIF, so today we're kind of stepping it up and doing an MP4. It's 18 megabytes. It's not that small, but it's high definition, 1920, 1080. It's got audio. It's got everything in it. Let's see what it looks like. Right. So it's a simple animation, but it works. All right. And that's how you make an MP4 video from Photoshop, basically. All right. Using other tools. I know we're dependent on audio clips and video clips. That's some stuff you got to get on the internet, right? So now what I want us to do here before I wrap it up, I want to do one more thing together. I'm going to try to get this Wilson clip here from us to do, just to show you how this HTML segment works. If we do that animation that we did last week, I'm just going to pull it up really quickly here from the folder. I believe we did this, right? This is what we did last week in this class. We're going to do the glow. Yeah, pretty nice, right? So we're going to grab this animation. We're going to copy it here. Option drag. We're going to put it together with our web ready folder. Just make sure I'm still connected. Sometimes all right, we're good. So I'm going to open this file into Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is another software that we use for web design. Okay, basically what it does is it creates the HTML file for you as well as the graphics. Again, another Adobe software that's really, really good. It used to be more popular in the earlier days. It's still used today. It just gives you the website layouts with your code on the right. This is just the way I have it set up, so it's easier for us to pay attention, right? So this is also easier here. So you have your code on your left, you got your website on the right. So why am I here? Because it's easier for me to capture the images instead of going to code view, which I can. I know you guys are doing HTML, but I can basically drag this image here. I can just double click on it and exchange it with the Air Miles GIF image that we created in the other class. Now I know it's not measured the same size. I'm just gonna pretend I'm not doing this. Just gonna stretch it out, but it should be sized accordingly. I'm gonna go File, Save. Then I'm gonna go to Real-Time Preview and go to maybe Chrome and open up the file. And lo and behold, you have your animation playing in your website. So if this can help you with your current website project, like the band or whatever, in the other websites that you're doing in the future, you can definitely include your nice animations on top of your websites, just like that. And all that was just swapping out this. Here's your image source. Okay, so you just change that with the this file, image.gif. So this is what I changed from the JPEG to the image.gif, the source file. Let me go to code view so I can show you better. So I just swapped this image here with the GIF in your image source. That's all you have to do, and this is all in the header. Now, this was all done in Photoshop because it's sliced from Photoshop. It's done in tables, so that's why this looks a little different than your more modern way of doing HTML and CSS. Alrighty. So then I'm gonna now do another example with you. And then next week we'll follow up from this one, and then I'll maybe show you Adobe Animate, another great tool I want you to learn for next semester. You can get ready because we're gonna do the UX UI stuff, and there's gonna be some animation there as well. You gotta learn, so it's gonna be a nice, fun way to segue from one subject to another. Okay, So from here, what you want to download now is tap into class 14, which is next week's lesson, video motion design.zip. Grab this folder for me, please. Just download it, and we're going to use that one as a lesson example as well. That one happens to be this one here. It's got a volleyball, it's got an Expedia logo, and it's got a vacation destination image, which I realized later has a watermark. So I want you to swap this with the image of your choice, okay? So when you grab this and extract it, okay, just swap this image with something else. I'm just going to delete it now. It's not that good quality anyways. And then I'm going to beach vacation. And of course, Expedia was the first thing that showed up too. I'm going to go to under tools and change the size to large. So I'm going to get the nice quality. This looks like a nice spot right here. So I'm going to right click, save this image, and put that into my desktop. Well, in the folder that I had set up. You guys can do the same thing if you want. Just grab your own images, put your own compilation together. It's going to be saved here as the background. Okay. So all in all, you should have a picture of a background. We have a logo, and we have a subject that's going to bounce or move. This will teach you or reiterate the techniques I showed you earlier. I'm just going to do a second example just to kind of make sure I really explain it properly. And for those of you that didn't get it the first time, and then instead of doing something more abstract like this, which was cool, but I mean, we can make something more realistic now that we know the basics and how it works. We went over the mechanics and all the properties of using the keyframes that are very much applicable into more advanced ways like After Effects. Photoshop is quite capable to do short videos on its own. So let's go ahead and open this now, make a setting for this exact commercial here, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go back to Photoshop again. Plug my laptop in. Create a new file. So we're gonna make a new file again. Film and video, 1920 1080p at 72 dpi with RGB color mode. We're gonna create that file. Same as the last one, nothing different. The only thing is this time we're gonna dress it up to a real setting. So I'm gonna go File, Import, or I should say place embedded or linked if we want to change the graphics later. Let's do linked. Maybe we could do that. We'll do a linked process this time. I'm going to go to the motion design folder. Let's place the nice background that we have. I'm going to make it nice and big, expand it to the full potential of the artboard here. So it's going to be nicely set this way, so the chairs don't get cut off. Maybe just a little bit there. All right. And so that exists on a layer already. I'm going to delete that background. We're going to create a video timeline. So this way it's going to look like that. We're going to do a 5-second commercial, maybe a 10-second commercial. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little longer or lesser, I should say, and drag this to 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is pretty quick for a commercial, especially these days. It'll get the message across. It's a good size, okay? Every second they pay lots of money for commercials now, for advertisement. So 10 seconds is there. I'm gonna move the playhead at the very beginning. And I'm gonna rename this and call it just background, okay? So there we go. And then I'm going to bring in the, I have a script here. We're going to introduce the sunny destination. We're going to have the setting where you have a beach and a nice, water view, the ocean view, I should say. The ball's going to roll in. Maybe it's time to get more excited, not just do nothing all day. although that's good too. I'm gonna have the ball roll in, and then maybe a message that comes across, like, you know, choose your vacation or something like that, or vacation time, and then we'll have the Expedia logo show up. And that's enough to kind of get people's attention to get the message, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna go ahead and save this as a Expedia commercial. We're gonna go on the computer. We're gonna save it in the same location as our sources, as a Photoshop file. I'm gonna bring in the, again, I'm placing linked this time on purpose so I can edit my, later on I want to do another version of the commercial. I can change the background to a different, like a night beach setting. And now it's going to be a more romantic kind of commercial, okay? And we can do a sandals commercial instead of a Expedia commercials. We can switch it up. By changing the content, you are the content creator. You can change a lot of stuff after you do it. So place, the other subject will be the ball. Right, so this will be the moving element that's going to come in. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to double click. It's funny, I brought the volleyball. I'm playing, you know what I see in my head? I'm playing volleyball tonight. We get together with a bunch of friends from 8 p.m. We go to a volleyball court. We rent every Thursday, and we actually play volleyball for 2 hours. It's our way of getting some exercise. So I'm looking forward to that. And so if I double click here, I'm going to edit this volleyball so it has a nice clean background. So I'm going to go and use my background eraser tool, just get rid of the background. I like to move the ball closer to my cropped area, so I'm going to move it here. I'm also going to use the crop tool, which is crop the picture this way. So I'm just kind of prepping it properly. And the image size, I mean, shouldn't be 500 pixels is not bad because I might want to scale it up and down as long as it's not 5,000 pixels. If it's 500, it's okay. I can go with that, right? Hit Command S. Very good. Go back here. And now the ball is all fixed and ready to go. As you can see, I was able to edit here, replace it over here, right? I'm going to hit Command T or transform, make it a little smaller, right? Just go like there. I think that's big enough. And of course, the ball can come rolling in and just stop here. And then the Expedia will be the message. So the ball's going to roll from left to right. And when I say roll, it's going to like literally roll right through. So I'm going to go here. It's going to come in the middle. So nothing will happen until maybe 1.5 seconds. So I'm going to do right here, 1.5, 1, 2, 1.5 is right here. That's when the ball gets introduced. So I'm going to open up the volleyball animation properties. I'm going to add the transform keyframe to activate the keyframe for me to add something with transform. I'm going to move this over to maybe a few seconds over here, add another keyframe, and that's when I move the ball to this position here. So from here, it's going to go to there. Not only that, I'm also going to make it rotate 180 degrees clockwise, not counterclockwise. So it's going to basically go like this. Okay, it's going to stop. There. Let's press play. All right. Maybe I want to make it look more realistic. So if it does this, maybe it hits the chair or something, then it rolls down. Why don't I do that? So it's going to hit the chair a bit. It's going to come back down a bit. So it's going to go like this. And maybe I'll make it a little more. So as I increase this into the distance, the more time duration I give it. So maybe 4 seconds in is when the ball is going to come in like that. And then, you know, a little more, whatever. And then after this, I'm going to have it roll slightly back. So about a, you know, half a second, quarter second afterwards, another keyframe. I'm gonna have it go back a bit, maybe roll the other way. We'll make it go to 120. Like that, right? So 180 and then 120, so it kind of rolls back, so it's more realistic. So it's gonna roll away. Right? I mean, you can finesse this any way you want, but it's gonna play that way here. Let me just make it a little shorter. There we go. So a nice sunny day at the beach, and the ball just does that. All right, and maybe even 120 was too much. Like 150, so it's not too. All right, so it's going to go like this and like that. Nice and natural, right? Bounces off, comes back in position. Great. And then we'll have the message come out around here, okay? And the message is going to be maybe something to do with vacation. So I'm going to introduce a title with the type tool. So I'm just going to type in vacation time, question mark, right? And that's going to be nice and bold. I'll use Railway Bold for now. I'll pick a nice font so it'll be nice and visible. And I'll put vacation time. Okay. So that's kind of just gonna show up over here, like vacation. Maybe it'll like fade in or something. It's gonna fade in, fade out, and then Expedia logo comes in. What do you think? I think that's gonna be a nice little, quick little internet ad. Okay, so we're gonna do a social media ad or some kind. So the ball bounces off the chair. Good thing the element's there. This fades in, fades back out. So as it fades back out, I'm gonna shorten the duration to about this point over here, maybe 7 seconds. Expand the keyframe properties, right? And maybe just do the opacity at this point. So we're gonna go here, opacity, and over here will be another opacity because it's gonna from 0 to 100. It's gonna stay over here till 100 again. And at the end, it's gonna go back to 0. So I'm gonna go right to the end, hit the 0. So it's gonna go 0, 100, stay, and then go back to 0. Follow me? I'm looking at the vacation time. So in that case, I'm gonna go back to this one. Okay. I'm gonna go to the opacity, 0 opacity, 100% opacity, 100% opacity, and 0 opacity. Okay, so this, if I play it now, it should look like this. A little slow. I think I can speed it up a bit, but that's fine. We'll just, maybe it'll play faster when it's real time, because right now it's still rendering through the program. Right. So to speed it up, I'm gonna have to just move this a little faster this way, that way. The ball's gonna last the whole way, so I should extend the ball all the way out that way. So it's gonna be, the ball comes in, bounces back, vacation time, and then Expedia shows up. So when Expedia shows up, it's gonna be after vacation time disappears around here somewhere is when we introduce the last element to this animation. I'm gonna go place linked again, get the Expedia logo, basically bring it over here in its place where the vacation time used to be, and then Expedia shows up. What do you think, right? So that's going to be a nice way to introduce the vacation provider. And that can also kind of fade in as well, fade in and fade out. We don't have to do that much motion with it. So I'm going to bring this back to 10 seconds because it's going to last in 10 seconds. It's going to fade in. It's going to stay because the last thing people will see is the logo, the vacation spot, and all the other stuff. So I'm going to just do what's called, maybe I'll do a transform just to kind of keep it in line with what we're doing here. So transform and opacity, I'll do both. All right, and about here, it's going to come in. Again, transform and opacity. So I'm adding both keyframes for the Expedia logo. Okay, and if I go back to the beginning here, transform means I'm gonna, make this a lot smaller, coming in kind of thing, right? So it's gonna do that, right? Vacation time, Expedia, and it's gonna fade in as well. So if I go to the opacity slider, I'm going to bring this to like 0%. So it's going to be like coming in from nowhere, fading in, coming in nicely, and then taking over. All right. So 10-second commercials. We did it pretty fast because, we know what we're doing now. We have all the knowledge of how to control layers and keyframes and all the other cool stuff that goes with the software. And I'm going to save this as another file here. Just do file save. Let's bring in the audio clip. I'm going to bring in the same one I used before. Why not? So add audio. Back to the desktop. You can, again, grab any audio from your sources that you have. I'm going to use my commercial that I made like last year for one of the exercises we used. And I'm just going to shred this out here. Oh, yeah. Whoops, I think I made this Expedia a little longer. There we go. It was like more like Independence. All over the world. Our global mission is to bring the change in fashion. Come join us. You can't tell me the deck is stacked. All right, so maybe I can even the audio here. It abruptly just comes in of nowhere. So maybe we can fix the. See here. Fade in. 3 seconds. Fade outs. 1 second. Okay, so it's going to fade in, fade out. Our global mission is to bring the change in fashion. Come join us. You can't tell me the deck is stacked. All right, anyways. So it fades in a bit and it fades out, as you can see with controls. Not much control. You can also mute it if you want. I'm going to fade it in much later. Maybe like, 588 and fade out at 187, okay? The volume 100%. So let's go ahead and do file save. And now we're gonna publish this on a video again. We're gonna go to export, render video, and this will be an actual MP4 file, which then we can put on YouTube, make a commercial, broadcast it, publish it, whatever you want to do. It'll be 1920, 1080, high def. Hit the render button, and off you are making commercials. And if you want to do video editing stuff, then you work with video clips. You don't do that in Photoshop. You can do that in Rush. You can do that in Premiere, After Effects. Those are the programs you want to work with videos. Here we're working with still images because Photoshop's a digital imaging software. So we're working with images, creating videos. So it's kind of cool what we can do with like motion design or motion graphics, because you see this stuff quite a bit on the internet and television now. I've seen a lot of commercials with the same kind of concept. Images, moving parts, bunch of text elements, headlines, and logos, and there's your commercial. A good audio clip to support it, right? And then you have the video commercials with shooting the proper video. And that's a next level thing that you can do. But for this, what you can do with it, it's pretty amazing with the fact that you can do a whole video just from scratch by using the Photoshop tools. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the save button again. And let's go ahead and see how this commercial panned out. I'll put it in the same folder. Okay, so here we go. A global mission is to bring the change in effect. Come join us. All right. So the assignment that you have left, as well as your last composite project or assignment that you're doing, is this one here. Let me just make sure it's done right. I made this due on the 10th, so it's due not tomorrow, on the Sunday. So you have till the weekend to finish it, okay? What I didn't do is put the size in there. The size will be, let me just do another size. Size 720 pixels, 720 by 360. Or bigger. And then I'll put no bigger than 1080. Sorry, 1920 1080. 1920 by 1080p. Okay, so you can go with this size. If you want to incorporate the video stuff that I showed you today, you can do the bigger one. Okay, motion design. If you already did it based on last week's lesson, that's fine. You don't have to do the video stuff I showed you today. This is just extra knowledge I want you to have. So you don't have to do this in the video timeline. You can do this just using the frames, okay? Maybe I'll up this up to like 50 frames. Okay, 720, 360, okay? So you can kind of, I just put in more information because some people ask me, what size am I making this? And this is the size you can go with. Or you can do a custom size and find out what size you want to go with your execution. Because if you look at different banner sizes, you know, I should put web banner sizes. Right, so you can see some of the 720, 300, 300, 600. So you can have different sizes based on the, you know, requirements. So you can do any size you like, okay? Whatever you're kind of required to do based on maybe you're doing a real website or something, or you're doing an existing website and you have a room for the leaderboard to fit. You can do it on that size as well. Alrighty, so any questions about this? Because I gave you an extension, okay? And like I said, you can use the last method. If you already finished it, that's fine. Some of you already submitted it in there. The rest of you that haven't, if you want to maybe give it a crack at this other option I showed you, have some fun, go ahead. But, you know, do whatever you want, okay? And having said that, we're going to wrap it up now. One more class we have next week. I like to do like an overall review or just a review on some stuff we haven't covered, like things like actions I can show you that's really cool. That's important that you don't know in Photoshop. We can tap into Adobe Animate, another great animation tool that you can prepare you for next semester. I know you're going to be creating some other stuff, and we'll wrap it up there. And maybe I will drop by next week because I'm going to be finishing early enough to have time to come and see you and interrupt Felicia's class if I can. Alrighty, let me just go to my thing here. I'm going to stop the recording now. All right, so thanks for attending again. I'm going to stop the recording. If you haven't had a chance to join me live and watch the video, I'll see you in the next one. Be safe. Have a great week or weekend, I should say. Tomorrow's already Friday, and I'll see you in the next video segment. We have one more class to go, and let's have a strong finish. Bye for now. Okay, so stop recording.